Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you being here. I love talking to you guys. As always, we have a lot to catch up on. Today, I really wanted to talk about this news that broke out some weeks ago. It's been, I think, about a month or a little bit more than that as now, about the breakup between Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell. And even if you don't know the backstory, I'll tell you the backstory. So for me, I find this very interesting for very specific reasons, just because of the history behind it and how it happened. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. I don't really care so much about the gossip part of it, but there's a lot to dissect when it comes to that. So let's not waste time. Let's talk about it. So, for those who may not know who Matt James is, he was on The Bachelor, which is a show where you go on to find a possible husband or wife to be, right? So you meet people, and then at the end of the show, you get engaged. So when he went on the show, he had several girls to choose from, and he chose Rachel Kirkconnell. And he didn't get engaged to her in his case, but they started being in a relationship and whatnot, because when it was time to engage her, he said he wasn't ready, so that didn't happen. And from there was a lot of backlash about several things that happened about her past allegedly and things like that, but that's not really what I want to dive into today. I want to talk about more of the breakup and the relationship, because recently we got to hear that he broke up with her in a very, very may I just say, in a very heartless way. They were on a trip in Japan, from what we heard. I hope I'm getting it right. I think it was Japan. And they had a very light argument about food and stuff like that, because he's a food blogger. And then the next thing you know, he tells her that he feels that the relationship cannot go anywhere because he doesn't see her as someone that has the qualities he's looking for in a wife. And this is after 4 years of being with her. 4 years of being with this girl, and he breaks up with her for absolutely no real reason, and then tells her that it's because he doesn't see the qualities he's looking for in a wife. This girl has to fly back to America on her own from Japan, heartbroken, and while she's flying back, he then goes on Instagram to make a breakup post. So she doesn't even have enough time to process it, to take it in before the whole world gets to know. So as soon as she's landing in America, you have paparazzi, you have everybody talking and asking about the breakup. And so this girl goes on, she goes on a podcast called Her Daddy and talks about everything that happened from her own perspective. And you could see on that podcast that she was still very much heartbroken. I mean, how wouldn't she be? And quite frankly, in a way that she still loved him. You could see it on the podcast. So I found it very, very sad for her. But as a woman, I could relate so much to what she was saying and what she was experiencing. And I'll say this because if you followed their journey on The Bachelor, you will see that Matt had issues, to put it lightly. He had commitment issues because of some trauma that he had gone through with his dad, because allegedly his dad cheated on his mom and he kind of never really got past it. And you could see that the mom too was still kind of harboring all of that pain. So it affected him as well. And so he kind of struggles with being committed to somebody, like getting married or getting engaged or things like that. Like whenever that comes up, you see that's why even on the show, it usually ends in engagement. His didn't, because he struggled with doing that. And he has this thing, again, this is all from my perspective when I was watching it, where you could see that he has a very, very strong personality, where he almost does this thing where he would gaslight you into thinking that it's a you problem, whereas it's a him problem. You know what I mean? Like if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Or even if you didn't watch it, if you ever think back to like certain times in your life, I'm sure you have met those kind of people, whereas like they're always making you think like you're the problem. And if you are a Rachel, which I know that I've been, you're inexperienced in the field of relationships and love. You have this idea of commitment, and you know you want to be the best for your partner. You want to have this great partnership and relationship. You always tend to take the blame and always try to be better, even when you weren't the problem in the first place. And you could tell in this case that that's what was going on, because from what she explained on the podcast, like most of the time when they would have arguments, she would be the one to be like, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I should have done this differently, because he would always put it on her. And that on its own is a very, very huge red flag. Like that's why for me, when I was listening to her, I was like, I mean, I've come a long way, because I tell you, that's not me now. That's not me now. But like so many of us have been there. So many of us have been there. We've been the person who wants to always think about the other person first. And in doing that, you ignore so many red flags. You've been the person that you're literally getting gaslit, and you're not even realizing it, because you're thinking, oh, if he's saying that I did this wrong, then maybe he's right. I need to fix this, and I need to fix that. But something that I really wanted to say to Rachel and to every other Rachel out there is, it's not your job to fix this dude. It's not your job to fix your partner. And if you're not enough for your partner, it's a him problem, not a you problem. Because you are enough as you are. If your partner is always pointing the finger at you and never pointing the finger at himself, then guess what? He's got a problem. Because even if you think about it, like usually in arguments, right? You can almost always find situations in which you could have done things better. So anybody that has real self-awareness, even when you're pointing out things that someone has done to you, you can also acknowledge, yeah, maybe I could have handled this better, or I could have handled that better. But you're with someone who always is pointing the finger at you. You're with someone who has, with all due respect, daddy issues, and refuses to understand that it's not your job to fix that, and refuses to really, really do the work to come out of those daddy issues and be able to commit to someone. And you see all of that, and you're blinded with this veil of love. You go heart first into this relationship. You spend 4 years of your life with this dude, going through all of the gaslighting that comes with being with such a person. And then you get broken up with in Japan or wherever you got broken up with in other people's cases, without any thread of empathy. It's heartbreaking, but it's also such a big lesson, because what it teaches you is never ignore red flags. Always love yourself more than anybody you're with. Always remind yourself of your worth. I always say, like, people shouldn't be the ones reminding you how badass you are as a person, how great you are as a person. You should be the person always telling yourself that, because it's true. You should also be the person holding yourself accountable the most when you screw up, right? But you also want to be the person that keeps it real with yourself and is like, you are a great person. I love you. You're wonderful. Because when you're able to be that person for yourself, it will be harder for some dude with daddy issues to treat you like that. Actually, it will be practically impossible for that to happen. Because the moment you spot that, you're like, nah, I deserve better. Like, I cannot be in this. I deserve better. You need to go sort out whatever's going on with you. And if you sort it out, and I'm still here, then maybe we can give this a shot. But other than that, I am not dealing with your broken ass. I'm not doing that. And I think that this has been a lesson in disguise for Rachel. I don't necessarily, listen, from watching the show, she wasn't necessarily my favorite, but this isn't about favorites. This is just about real life, right? There's something really, really hurtful happened to her. And so I feel a lot of empathy for her. And I also feel like, thank God it happened now. Because imagine that you did get married to this person and then it happened then. So in a way, it's like you got saved from an even worse possible outcome and situation. So take the lesson, take the win, learn to love yourself first, not just more, but first. Learn to always put your worth as the most important thing before anything else. And I think Rachel will be just fine. And for all the Rachels out there, this is for you as well. You'll be just fine. Always remember to take out the lesson out of the horrible situations that sometimes happen to us, because bad things do happen to the people as well, and it's just part of life. So as always, do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I love you, love you, love you.